Let's start. Okay, we're starting. This is our seminar planned for today, the 3rd of April at 1300. So we're doing this in a distant mode via Zoom. According to the conditions, I advise you to watch video lectures available on YouTube, my channel. I also advise you to use the UNCAC Legislative Guide, PowerPoint presentations for 3 and 4, and different types of legislation. Okay, we have identified 5 questions. 5 questions, and today we are conducting our seminar. Can you see each other too?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, excellent. I don't hear you well. Can you just maybe move closer to your phone or whatever you're using, because your voice is not loud enough. Okay? Or speak up. Speak up, please. Okay. Who would like to take the lead and start answering the question? Please, if you this time I give you a choice to pick from 5 questions. So who would like to take the lead, and please read the content of your question as well. Okay, who's it?
Okay. I would like.
Please.
Farid, would you like to start?
Yes. First question. I would like.
Please read out.
Yes. Please explain the significance and perception and awareness about corruption in the process of mounting fight against this phenomenon.
Okay, but speak slowly, okay? Try to speak slowly.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that corruption terms is a complex phenomenon, because there is no accepted universal definition of corruption, and also corruption is described and determined by the international organization, also by the many researchers. In accordance with some researchers, corruption is described as a misuse of the private or public position for the purpose of private gain. Also, the corruption term is described or developed by some international organizations, including the World Bank, International Transparency, and also European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. First of all, I want to say that international transparency described corruption as the abuse of trusted power for the private gain. Also, international transparency classified corruption. It can be classified as a petty corruption and grand corruption and political corruption. Grand corruption consists of acts committing at the high level of government that
Okay, I think we're experiencing some sort of problem.
Yes.
Aytaj, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think just temporarily Farid is, we lost Farid.
Görürsüz.
Yes, we can see you now, yes. Yes, please go on.
Yes.
Please remember speaking slowly, okay?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Grand corruption is one of the, it can be classified grand corruption, petty corruption, and also political corruption. Grand corruption consists of acts committing at high level of government that destroy or distort functional system of government. And petty corruption and also International Transparency classified petty corruption as the abuse of everyday abuse of power for the private gain. Also, it consists of exchange a small of money. Also, its interaction with their by mid-level officials, with their ordinary citizenship, and political corruption is manipulation of political institution and so on. Also, the World Bank described as a corruption, abuse of public offenses for the private gain, and also the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development described as a corruption, official of bribery for the purpose of gain commercial disadvantage. And also corruption term definition is not settled in some countries, also in the Republic of Azerbaijan. Also the corruption terms is reflected in the national anti-corruption plan.
Okay.
National Anti-Corruption Plan, and in accordance with the National Anti-Corruption Plan dated 2004, corruption has meaning. Corruption means illicit obtaining by an official of matter and some privilege or advantage by for using that purpose of his or her position, and also this status of body that he or she represent, and also opportunity that driving from those, and bribery of officials.
Okay. Farid, it was quite useful. You told us about the international dimension of understanding corruption, right? As you said,
Yes.
Indeed, there is no single definition. The international community hasn't arrived to a point where we define corruption. But for
also
Go ahead.
Also, the word of corruption, the origin of corruption is Latin word corruptus, it means spoiled, corrumpier, it means to break into pieces or ruin.
Excellent. So we understand there's a semantic form where we understand the meaning of the word, what corruption means. Generally, we know what is meant by this word, and also we are using two or three definitions which were taken on board and which were developed by international organizations, right? Like Transparency International and World Bank.
European Bank.
European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Okay. You also started mentioning that in Azerbaijan, we also started to develop this understanding of corruption. Can you tell us why does it matter how people perceive corruption, how they understand corruption in the context of developing the fight of corruption? Maybe because I'm just giving you hints now. Was corruption understood the same way during this 30 years of independence, right? Was it understood the same way at all times? Or maybe the concept changed, and this change somehow affected the content with which the government filled in the measures of fighting against corruption. Tell us about this, please.
Corruption definition is not settled matter in our country, because there's no universal definition of corruption in the Republic of Azerbaijan. The definition in the Republic is reflected in the Republic of Azerbaijan in some acts. For example, National Action Plan dated 2004, 2006, and also law on fighting against corruption dated of the Republic of Azerbaijan dated 2004. And in accordance with the National Anti-Corruption Plan dated 2004, corruption is described has described illicit obtaining by an official of matter and some privilege of or advantage for using for the purpose of his or her position or the status of body that he or she represents, and also opportunities deriving from this status, and also bribery of official. But in the criminal court, the Republic of Azerbaijan, the corruption definition is not described.
Okay, okay, I understand. You just said that sometime in the course of our history, like 14 or 13 years after we gained independence, the legislator, i.e. Milli Majlis, introduced some form of definition. What does it signify? Does it signify that the corruption is understood exactly in the same way by everyone, and that government has made up its mind what to consider corruption and to fight it? What was happening before that, and what happened after the adoption of this act and legislative definition of corruption? Did you understand my question?
Başa düştüm.
How was it helpful that government defined the corruption as a term in the Anti-Corruption Act, or as you said, Law on Fight Against Corruption Act 2004?
I think there's no differences between the private sector and public sector in the Republic of Azerbaijan. In the act, anti-corruption national plan or law and fight against corruption.
May I answer?
Would you like to say something, Aytaç?
Yes.
Yeah, but speak louder, please, because we hardly can hear you.
Okay. I would like to say that before, in the first years of our independence, the corruption understood such as bringing or giving or accepting a bag of cash. Only this term understood. But then the legislator defines the notion that corruption means corruption contains also a bag of cash, also material or unmaterial benefit, maybe for example financial transactions going to the bank accounts. Maybe it is not a bag of cash, but also it is liable for a corruption action.
Okay, Aytaç, did it happen at the same time as the definition of corruption when it was formulated for the first time? Was it the year 2004? When did exactly this happen, this shift in the understanding of corruption, as you said, from direct exchange of goods to more sophisticated forms? Did it happen the same year in 2004?
Anti-Corruption Directorate was established.
You see, the point why I'm asking you about the dates is not to memorize you some sort of figures, but the point is for you to see the chronology of events, how they actually took place, right? What was happening and when it was happening. It's really important from the point of view of understanding the concept of corruption. Okay, in 2004, the legislature passed this law on fight against corruption, where it contained some sort of definition, okay? We will not say that it's a comprehensive definition, that's its entirely big definition which defines exactly all forms of corruption, correct? We said that, Aytaç mentioned that subsequently government, national authorities changed its stance, right? changed its position on what could be considered corruption. And they shifted from merely the type of behavior where merely the goods were exchanged between some private person and public official. It came to cover such actions as in more sophisticated forms, right? Aytaç mentioned that undue benefit, some sort of different stuff was introduced. And it happened exactly for the first time when? In 2006, right? In 2006, the legislator for the first time introduced these new concepts to the penal code, okay? So we have two dates here, 2004 and 2006. In 2004, the legislator, the government introduced some sort of concept of corruption. In 2006, it started to expand it, right? I just want to hear from you how this reflects the whole concept of fight against corruption, right? How this understanding, as we can see, this growing and expanding understanding of corruption affects the content of fight against corruption. First, in order to help you, let's look back before 2004, right? The country became independent in 1991.
Wow.
And what was happening between 1991 and 2004?
There were reforms.
Free just state existential challenge.
Existential challenges, right? Because the country was
existential challenge.
emerged.
Yes, occupation of Armenian troops, Nagorno-Karabakh, also challenge some forms of transnational crimes and official fraud, bankrupt, false entrepreneurship.
Okay, these are the circumstances, right? I think Aytaç disappeared, huh?
Aytaç çıxdı dəyişsə. Yəqin interneti kəsildi, ola bilər. Onun interneti zəif tuturdu.
Well, let's wait a couple of seconds, okay? Let's wait for some time.
Yeah.
Let's wait for some time. It's okay. Okay, she's joining, right? Aytaç, are you here with us?
Qoşuldu ki.
Aytaç? Okay. Are you here? Okay. Let's not forget that the language of our instruction is English, okay? Let's not forget our statements. Okay, stay home, be positive, right? Don't waste your time. Speak slowly, please, okay? Can you read this? Okay, I don't know how you see this.
Yes.
Okay, so Farid, I will be giving you words, okay? So Farid just mentioned that at the outset, the country, the government, and the people, they face these existential challenges, some external challenges, some internal challenges. Yes. So the statehood was rather weak at the time. So Aytaç, what do you think in these circumstances? What was the position on fight against corruption at that point? Was it really a matter of priority? Was it in the agenda? Was it considered in any way? If it was, how did the government treat it, corruption issue at that time? Can you confirm that you understood my question, Aytaç? Oh, we can't hear you. Louder, please. Okay. Can you hear us well, Aytaç? Can you hear us? Can you hear?
Yes.
Yes? Aytaç, because
yes.
Can you hear us well, Aytaç? Because we can't hear you.
Aytaç geçirdi.
Can you speak up, Aytaç? Go ahead.
Aytaç eşidilmir. Yəqin biraz qaldır səsi. Eşidilmir. Eşidilir Aytaç. Eşidirsən?
Okay, Farid, let's not intervene, okay? Let's her speak. Say something because I want to hear you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so you heard the question, right, Farid? You heard the question. Can you pick up, continue for, and we'll wait. While we continue to speak, we will wait for Aytaç. So, do you remember the question?
Repeat, please.
At that time when the country was facing these internal and external challenges, okay?
Yes.
What was the situation with fight against corruption? Was the matter of priority for the government? Okay.
Regional extension challenges or
existential
challenges, and also challenge. Fragile state is related to independence of the Republic of Azerbaijan, dated 1991 October, and existential challenge related to occupation of the territory of the Republic of Azerbaijan by Armenian troops.
Okay,
and also the challenges.
Yeah, we heard these challenges. I'm asking about this, the approach of the government and its stance, its position on the issue of fight against corruption. Aytaç, can you say something?
Decree, presidential decree.
Aytaç. Aytaç? I can't hear you, unfortunately. We can't hear you. Hold on.
Siz Aytaç'ı eşidirsiniz?
Can you say something, Aytaç? Are you speaking from the phone? Maybe you keep it closer to you. Okay? Maybe it's blocking, something is blocking the microphone of the of your phone. No?
Telefonun səsini qaldır, bəlkə azaltmısan ona görə.
But can you hear us well? Can you hear us? Yes?
I can't hear you.
Okay, maybe for the time being, because we don't know how to sort out this problem, Farid, you'll speak and I will make comments. Sorry, Aytaç, maybe just for the time being, you just keep listening to us. And from time to time, make an attempt to say something. Maybe it will get better. I don't know, maybe by some miracle. Okay, so how did this, what was the position of the government? Was corruption, fight against corruption, a priority at the time before, in the early years of independence?
Fragile challenges, extensional challenges, and also challenges. And also in those years, there are some presidential decrees are adopted early stage. In the early stage of corruption, five decrees are adopted. The first decrees was adopted in 1994 years. The main purpose of this decree is to identify measures against fight against crime, and also consolidating law and lawfulness. The main purpose of it is, and also the second decree was adopted in 1996 years. The main purpose of this decree is to oversight in the field of production and service, and also financial credit system. And also the main purpose of decree is to ban ungrounded inquiries in entrepreneurship. And the third decree was adopted in 1998 years. The main purpose of this decree is to tackle some economic crimes, including corruption, rape, and so on. The second decree was adopted in 1999 years. The main purpose of this decree is to
if I may stop you here, we heard that there were several decrees,
yes.
or otherwise we call it ordinances by the president, right? Which aimed, can you just tell us, not specifically which of them meant, but what was the general approach? What was the general characteristic? How can you define it in the general way? Was corruption considered a social phenomenon? Was it considered maybe as some occasional irregularity? Was it considered as some sort of crime? Was it considered as a condition which actually was conducive, which was helping crimes being committed? Can you tell us along these lines, please?
Generally, the main purpose of five decrees, I think, is to streamline oversight in this field, and also to taking measures against corruption and also other economic crimes.
I touch, maybe you say something? I touch, are you here with us? I was thinking maybe you switch off your video. Maybe you switch off your video and we'll hear you better, right? Can you try this? Can you switch off your video? Okay. Now? No, unfortunately, we cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. Okay, maybe you look at your phone in the meantime while we're talking. Maybe you try to figure out what's happening. Maybe you look at the settings. Please be active, and maybe we'll use this opportunity to make it better for the next time. But try and find out what's happening, because Farid, are you speaking from the phone?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay, so the general characteristic of these 5 presidential decrees were that because corruption posed a serious risk at the time, okay, and
Yes.
it wasn't considered just as a social phenomenon, right, or some sort of economic event, or an occasional situation, right? It was considered as a full-fledged type of crime, right? Because crimes were dominating the early years of independence. They affected the political stability. Okay, and corruption was either seen as a crime or as a condition which was promoting crime, right? Situation, the criminals in the country. So summarizing this first step, we can tell that that corruption was treated only mainly through these criminal law measures, right? For the law enforcement measures, it was only a part of the strategy, part of the general strategy to stop crime from being committed, right? And
Yes.
what was happening by the end of 1990s, right? Which was actually leading to the change in this situation. What was happening? What can you tell about this? End of the 90s, beginning of 2000.
2000 beginning.
Yes.
Um,
Atach, are you here?
in the end of 2000 years, the penal code was adopted.
Okay.
A certain title of the penal code was.
Atach, feel free to say something anytime. If you think that something is changing, that your situation gets better, that you manage to find out the problem, say. When you think you're operational, just say something, okay? So that we can hear your voice. Please continue, Farid.
Such a title of the penal code is the corruption crimes offenses is reflected in the such a title of penal code.
But this happened later, right? This happened much later. I'm asking the question, what happened in the end of 1990s? Okay, maybe the political situation became more favorable, right? Economy developed. The government managed to build more stability in the country.
Rapidly economic development.
Okay, and we know that there was a foreign investments involved, right? That this political stability attracted foreign investments, and the foreign investments actually start flowing into the country. I touched? Okay, we can't hear you, unfortunately. Okay, we can't hear you. But keep saying something from time to time. Just say something so that we know that. Unfortunately, these Zoom meetings are scheduled. You know, that's why we cannot stop it now, because I scheduled it in advance and we need to go on. At least you hear something. But from time to time, keep saying something if you think that you managed to mention things on your side. So Farid. The country wasn't so much in danger. It wasn't facing existential challenges. So what the government's next move was, what the government decided to do next? Did it continue to consider corruption as some sort of economic crime, or did it change its position? Did you understand my question?
I understand. Um,
I'll just try to help you, okay? After this, after the government managed to deal with the serious economic crimes and serious crimes, right, as I told you in our third lecture, what happened was the situation became stable. Big challenges, big bureaucratic mechanisms, they were dismantled, which the problems which stayed from the time of Soviet Union, these big auditing, unnecessary auditing and control mechanisms, they were dismantled, okay? So the government started to see that actually the biggest challenge which it faces at the time is corruption, right? So at that stage, in early years, in early 2000s, right, the government considered that the biggest problem it's facing is corruption, because public officials, they were undisciplined, right, they were unscrupulous, and this attitude toward their duty, which remained from older times, it was kind of conducive to corruption. So at that time, the government adopted its first strategy, right?
yes.
It adopted its first strategy, but
Early strategy,
Okay.
strategy, and post strategy.
Okay. Maybe we speak shortly again also about the institutional arrangements, right? About institutional arrangements. Can you tell us what kind of mechanisms, what
Yes.
kind of tools are in place in order to secure the autonomy of anti-corruption institutions in Azerbaijan? First of all, tell me, how many specialized anti-corruption institutions are there in Azerbaijan? How many? How many?
Dediniz?
How many specialized anti-corruption institutions operate in Azerbaijan?
Institution Azerbaijan. Four anti-corruption institutes exist in the Republic of Azerbaijan. Commission of Combating Corruption, the first, the second Anti-Corruption Directorate, the third Asan Service, DOST agenda, and Civil Service Authority and International units.
Internal units, you mean?
Internal units,
Okay, but in a narrow sense, there are two specialized agencies.
Commission on Combating Corruption and Anti-Corruption Directorate.
Okay, can you tell me which power branch of the government does Commission on Combating Corruption belongs to? Which branch?
Commission on Combating Corruption doesn't belong any charge of power because it's an independent institution.
What do you mean by independent? How can it not belong to any branch of power?
Yes.
Is it because of its composition? Is it because of its the appointment of its members, or is it for due to any other circumstances?
5 members is the 5 because the 5 members of this agenda is elected by Milli Majlis, by parliament. Also the second 5 members is elected by the Republic of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and the third 5 members of this agenda is elected by the judicial branch, including the Constitutional Court of the Republic of Azerbaijan.
Okay, there I would say, I touch.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Finally, I opened in my computer now the Zoom program.
Excellent. Excellent news. Aytaç, can you tell me, tell us, how did the, what does it mean to be an independent anti-corruption agency? What are the conditions for the independence?
Okay, I understand in such way that an independent agency or organization takes specific measures, includes prevention of corruption. Also, when committed such crimes, it is managerial and organizational functions it conducts, such as taking the offenders into liability and investigations, persecutions, it covers, I think.
In general way, to define an independent, what is required? I'm talking about the certain conditions defined by the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, okay? What is required to be put in place in order to secure the independence of an agency? Such as, for example, necessary resources, okay?
Preventive anti-corruption.
Can I answer that question, please?
I understand in another form now. Okay, I want to say that an organization would be independent if the resources you said would be independent and not related to the state budget or another state organization. Also, in the civil service, it is required when getting the new members of the service, the transparency and competition is required, and this is the measures for prevention of corruption in civil service. Indirectly, it is related to the independence of the state and independence of the civil servant.
Farid, do you want to add something to that? Very briefly, please.
I want to add in the United Convention Against Corruption, 2004 years. The convention 6th article is called Prevent Anti-Corruption Agendas, and in accordance with this article, each state party in accordance with its legal system and also legal principles, its state party shall ensure the existence of body or body specialized authority in the field of combating corruption. The convention is ratified by the Republic of Azerbaijan in 2005 years.
What in the agency, what it needs to be in order to be independent, okay? It shall have all necessary means, including financial sources, right? Including the appropriate staff. It shall be has its powers defined in an appropriate way, preferably by legislation at the first level. Okay. So can you please tell me which kind of measures did government of Azerbaijan put in place in order to secure independence of a specialized agency in the field of law enforcement fight against corruption?
I could not get the question.
Okay. Which agency is the specialized law enforcement agency in the field of fight against corruption?
Anti-Corruption Department.
Anti-Corruption Directorate.
Anti-Corruption Directorate with the
is the body specialized in the field of combating corruption in the Republic of Azerbaijan.
By means of law enforcement.
Yes, the agenda was established in the 2004 years 3rd March, and by 114 decree of the Republic of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and also the declaration.
Please, I have to stop you here. Farid, can you specifically answer my question? Which measures the government put in place in order to secure independence? Okay, you mentioned the first one. You mentioned the first one, that this agency was established not in a usual way, right? Not in a usual way like any other institutions, but it was established through the presidential decree. Okay, this is the first one. Okay, this shows the political commitment of the government to secure independence. Apart from the political commitment, what else is in place in order to secure the independence of this agency? Maybe you tell me something at the level of the legislation, the primary law. How do the laws in Azerbaijan secure the independence of the Anti-Corruption Directorate? Which laws are we talking about, by the way?
Detective search, operative search law.
That's one.
And Prosecutor Office Act 1999, and also Constitution, the Constitution of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and also the regulation of Anti-Corruption Directorate dated 2004 years.
Okay, you forgot one very important one, actually, very important piece of legislation you forgot. Aytaç, can you tell us?
Constitution dedim sonra.
Okay. You mentioned the Prosecutor's Office Act 1999, but you
yes,
forgot,
on dedim.
You forgot to mention.
Maybe ethical conduct code.
Not exactly. No, of course it's relevant, but not exactly it's relevant to the independence of the agency. It's a criminal procedure code.
Criminal procedure code, yes.
Okay, do you remember now?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me in the context, Aytaç, the question is to you now. Can you tell me in the context of the Prosecutor's Office Act and institutional arrangements within the prosecution service, how did the government manage to secure independence of Anti-Corruption Directorate?
I think the independence of the Anti-Corruption Directorate contains the functions that covers criminal investigations in related to corruption, and getting applications and complaints directly from the applicants, from maybe natural and legal entities. Then
I'll give you some clues, okay? The Anti-Corruption Directorate the first one is about institutional arrangement. The Anti-Corruption Directorate is an autonomous prosecutorial agency, right? And I gave you, during my lectures, I gave you the hint that it's similar to the military prosecutor's office of Azerbaijan. So the constitution of the country, it mentions specialized prosecution services. So the independence of the Anti-Corruption Directorate autonomy is secured through some constitutional arrangements. And the way of the appointment of the management of the Anti-Corruption Directorate, okay? Who is appointing the director of the Anti-Corruption Directorate?
Appointed.
Who is appointing him or her?
By president. by the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, elect, appoint the director of the Anti-Corruption Directorate.
Okay, he's appointed according to the...
and also released from his position or her position.
Okay, he's appointed according to the constitutional provision, right? Which involves
Yes.
the president. And director of the ACD is ex officio. Who is he, by the way, ex officio? What is his status in the prosecution service? He's a deputy prosecutor general. Ex officio.
Yes, he's the general public prosecutor of the Republic of Azerbaijan.
Okay, he's a deputy prosecutor general. And
yes.
In terms of the criminal procedure, in the context of the criminal procedure code, can you tell me how did the government, the authorities, secure the independence of Anti-Corruption Directorate? You remember criminal procedure code, right? Criminal procedure code. Cinayet Suçları. Okay. Aytaç, can you hear me?
Personal məcəlləsində prokurorun statusu maddəsi var idi.
Language of instruction is English. Got it. You keep forgetting this, huh? And I remind you several times, but you keep speaking Azerbaijani language. Aytaç, can you tell us what is it in the criminal procedure code? Which mechanisms of the criminal procedure code are used in order to ensure the independence of ACD? I'll give you a hint, okay? Indictment, the bill of indictment.
İttihamnamə, indictment.
Yes. Who is enforcing bill of indictment on criminal cases investigated by the ACD? Who is it? Okay, we know that it's a prosecutor who conducts procedural management of criminal investigation. Prosessual rəhbərliyi həyata keçirən prokuror. Who is this prosecutor within the context of ACD? It is the director of the ACD, okay? So ACD can investigate cases, and the director of ACD is not dependent on anyone, including the prosecutor general, and he can actually approve this document and send the case to the court for consideration. So, unlike other institutions, here the legislature secures the independence of the ACD director, okay? I urge you, you looked puzzled. I urge you to look at the appropriate sections again of the Criminal Procedure Code, especially powers of the prosecutor in section 48, as well as the chapter on the endorsement of bill of indictment, itham aktı. Okay, you should understand that this is a kind of document which is which is summarizing the entire course of investigation, and it's required for this case to be referred for trial. Okay. Okay, we have been talking for almost an hour. It will be an hour in a few minutes. So I suggest that we stop at this point here. This was the first time. Of course, we had some difficulties, but I hope next time we won't have any. Now we know that it's better to enter from desktop, right? Aytaç, please next time use your desktop. Please continue to watch all these lectures which I post on my YouTube channel, and please provide your comments. I need to know how to improve these lectures, okay? And back again, I don't know if you can see this. Stay home, be positive, don't waste your time, okay, guys? Don't waste your time, because now we have conducted 3 lectures and 1 seminar already. I've been informing the head of the criminal law department and the dean of the law faculty that we're doing this. So consider as if you attended this, so you won't have to waste your time next time. You won't have to attend these lectures again because you have done already. Okay, so I listen to our lectures, read materials, and next time, next week, maybe on Friday, we could conduct another seminar. Okay, do you have any questions for me?
No.
Okay, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Stay connected, okay? And please tell Roshan to attend, help him, because he's your course mate. Maybe you help him to prepare at least one question for the exam, okay? Thank you and have a good rest of the day.
See you.
Thank you.